Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we will talk about hybrid meetings. I will entertain questions at any time. I reserve the right to defer the question to later on, depending on what it is and what the flow of the meeting is at the moment. Why don't we quick go around the table, so to speak, and introduce ourselves. My name is Steve Piet. I am the speaker today. We also have Allen Perkins here
Hi.
in my basement.
I'm Allen Perkins, and I'm the supposedly host, although Steve and I are sharing that duty today on one computer. Normally, there would be two computers acting as host and co-host. With Friends for Learning, you'll see that on the participants list, FFL as the host, and the speaker would be a co-host. The facilitator would also be assigned the function of a co-host so that everyone can get things done.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
This is Daniel Devasivadam. I am thankful for that you are conducting this class. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, FFL.
My pleasure.
Jim Anderson here under Diego.
Okay.
Jim, why do you call yourself Diego?
Diego is Spanish for James and also the name of my oldest grandson.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good.
Hi, this is Dennis Loftus. I'm just trying to learn about online meetings. So I participate in them, but I've never done one as far as coordinating it or learning how to do it. So I'm glad to be able to do it.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Helen Hill, and this is my granddaughter Jasmine peeking out, joining us today. So I'm interested in online meetings, and I've listened to Steve many times as a speaker and excited to learn about facilitating meetings online as well. Thank you. You know, thank you too.
Okay, we got two more.
I'm Judy Warwick. I'm a facilitator this afternoon for Lithuania.
Ah, very good.
And the time in Lithuania is a lot different than the time is here. So look on the map
9
and
hours.
see where Lithuania is and what the capital of Lithuania is.
It's Vilnius,
Yeah.
and it's 9 hours different.
Well, thanks for staying up late tonight. And then,
I'm Sherry Maxfield. I need to change my name on there. It's got my husband listed to me, but I'm Sherry Maxfield.
very good. So for most of our lives, we've all used the stage in one way, shape, or form. We've interacted with people in person. And before us, there's been all of recorded history. We have the instincts, the knowledge of how to interact in person. The world was thrown for a loop a year and a half ago, and we've been dealing with purely online meetings in various ways and shapes. And now, organization by organization, we're taking the step toward dealing with a hybrid meeting where you have a group of people in one or more locations, and the rest of the people are online. This is a growing pains for most people, most situations. My first hybrid meeting was actually a quarter century ago. I was in San Diego on a project. We had to make presentations to our advisory committee, which was in Paris. So instead of getting a chance to fly to Paris, A group of us were making presentations from a conference room in San Diego, broadcasting to the early internet all the way to Paris. So we had several presentations that day for people in San Diego, and our audience was across the world, and they asked questions. So it was a full interactive meeting. So I'll show you a few things today. And one of the ways to think about online meetings and hybrid meetings is think about how we interact on a day-to-day basis. We have our eyes. Well, in the video world, eyes are replaced by cameras. We have our ears, and ears are replaced by microphones. Our face, our body is replaced by monitors, and our mouth by the speaker systems, the sound system, wherever you happen to be. And what controls all that? Well, the brain, or the computer, or both, if we're lucky. Unlike the thousands of years of speaking on stage in person, this business of hybrid is new. There's no one way to do it. And I assure you, there are technical or techno gremlins. Even those of us who do hybrid meetings at least once a month, or excuse me, once a week, which I do, multiple clubs, multiple organizations, the technical gremlins still strike. You have to expect it, roll with it, adapt, apologize when necessary. Just fix what you can and move on. The technical gremlins are out there. There are more technical gremlins than there are variants of COVID. And we just plain have to deal with that. None of us have the experience that society's had for the last, 5,000 years. So what do I mean by a hybrid meeting? Well, if you're doing a full, pure online meeting, everyone's standing or sitting rather in front of their computers like I am right now, and like each of you are. How well others can see you depends a lot on the light, the amount of light on your face. Judy, for example, is quite in shadow, as is Daniel. Helen's dealing with her granddaughter. So one of the things you want to work about in any video setting, but especially your face, is getting enough light in the room. But where the light is has to be appropriate for where your cameras are. So the more light, in this case, on your face, the more you project to the rest of the world. As you move from a simple pure video setup, pure video meeting, as right now, I'm talking just to the laptop, and the microphone that's active is the laptop's microphone. Now, as we get more and more people involved, or for whatever reason you're standing up, like we have throughout human history, note as I walk away from the laptop, you're hearing less and less sound, less and less good quality of my voice. And of course, I'm getting smaller and smaller as I step away from the camera. But as you move past 3 or 4 people in this location, then just working with a laptop and a fixed microphone and a fixed camera isn't going to happen. Now, Alan, if you come over here.
No.
And now be my director.
Okay, I'll be director, but I've never done this before, so.
Well, that's part of what I want to demonstrate. If you set things up and all the handouts give clues on how to set this up, then you can start doing all manner of things. You could just hit the F2 button. Like an stable cover file.
Speaker or Zoom?
F2.
Okay, I don't have my glasses on.
Well, even there, I've got a
Okay.
yellow
Okay,
tab.
speaker. All right.
So now I've shifted what goes out to Zoom is a camera in the back of the room. And to keep from getting blinded, I'll block that. So now I've got a camera in the back of the room, and this lapel mic clipped to my shirt is active. To hit F1. Note, you can see here, I've shifted back to, or Ellen has shifted this back to laptop, camera, and microphone. Now F2. So I have a camera in the back of the room and a microphone that's clipped to me. One of the things you learn as you get into hybrid situations is you need eyes, cameras, microphones, ears, in different places according to where people may be speaking. In this room, I've set it up so that I can speak, I can move around as I would do in person. Well, part of my audience is here in the room with me. So I want their experience to be good, and I want the online experience to be good. So everybody has to have a chance to see whoever the speaker is. They have to hear. Well, a conference room mic, as you are several feet away from a conference room mic, is not adequate. You need to have a personal microphone. I wasn't so cheap, I'd have a wireless microphone, but I have I think it's a $15 lapel mic that's connected into my laptop. And that's what you're hearing right now. And I have an extender cable on it. Yep. See, they won't see it there. You have to, it has to be high enough up to see that.
Yep. There's a cord.
There's a cord right here. It works. A wireless microphone. One of the groups I'm in is a Toastmaster Club that meets every Friday. We have a wireless microphone, which avoids stepping or getting tied up or twisted with the cord. If you can hit F3. If the speaker remotely wants to see the audience that's here, you'll see in this particular camera view, there's a variety of chairs. So I'm showing a remote speaker, the audience here. Whoever the speaker is generally wants to see their audience. Are they laughing? Are they sleeping? Are they on their cell phone? Do they raise their hands and have questions? F2. So as you move to a hybrid meeting, you need eventually the effect of two cameras. Now you can move one camera back and forth if you want. That can work. But ideally, most people end up having a two-camera setup. A camera aimed at the speaking area, right here, and a camera aimed at the audience. You need two microphones. The microphone that the speaker is using, and then typically a conference room mic in the audience. So that if, for example, Judy was the speaker, then we use the audience camera and microphone so that Judy would have a chance to see the audience here. And if we're clapping or laughing or crying or whatever it is, then Judy has that feedback from the portion of the audience that's in this room. So you have two cameras. Again, you can do it with a single camera and just aim it back and forth. It's a little trickier with a single microphone. Any questions before we go any further?
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes. Those of us, there's 7 of us here and only one active camera, active microphone. If you want to raise your hand, if you want to give your reaction like clapping, you all know how to do it. I
Good.
just put on the clapping icon. If you do, show it. and if not, we'll tell you how. First thing is you have to have your software up to date. And at the bottom of your screen, there's a little reactions button that gives you all the choices of clapping hands, thumbs up, there's a thumbs up. A bunch of reactions like, oh, I love that, or just to raise your hand. When you raise your hand, it puts you at the top of the participant list, and the speaker and the co-host can see that you're there. So there's important functions here. So try it and see what your reaction is.
Very good. Other questions or comments? Now, for the speakers here in this room, you also tend to use two monitors in a hybrid room. The laptop screen that I'm looking at right now shows my online audience. Now, I'm several feet away from the laptop, so I can't see you very well, but I can see if one of you is raising your hand. And if you leave your microphone on, then I can hear you laugh or cry or ask a question. If this was a real professional setup, then I'd have a larger screen monitor in the back of the room so that I could see you more life-sized. But as a speaker here, I want to see and occasionally hear my audience. So I'm looking at a monitor, F3. Let them see. So here again, we have the audience camera, the audience view, and you can see right here the laptop with all of you on the screen, so that as I'll block the camera so we get a sense of it. So I can see my remote audience. You can see me when we put the speaker camera on, F2. So I can see you, you can see me. If the speaker is remote, then we invert it. You see the audience here, and the audience here can see people projected behind me. So you have to look at all the different perspectives. Where might people be speaking? What do they want to see and hear? Where is the audience? What does the audience need to see and hear as the different people, different locations are speaking or serving as members of the audience? Any questions? Now you can do all the things that I've just mentioned. You can do that in Zoom or Teams or Skype, variety of different software packages. I use Zoom. I'm in book clubs for the last couple of years, or last year and a half. We have used Zoom, my account. Toastmaster clubs, I'm in 3 that have hybrid meetings. We happen to use Zoom. There are alternatives. As you have more and more equipment, this room actually is now set up with 5 different cameras. It gets more complicated and difficult to use Zoom or Teams or Skype to control that much equipment. Instead, several of us have been using a piece of software called OBS, which stands for Open Broadcast Studio. It's free. And I've given in the handouts some information on that. And one of the things you can do with that is feed all the different devices that you want to use on occasion, feed them into OBS, and then send a video and audio signal to Zoom or Teams or whatever it is. And that intermediate step, OBS, is controlling all the devices for you. That's why when I pick F1 or F2 or F3, then what that is a hotkey defined in OBS, which then sends things, changes what is being sent out to the world in Zoom. Go to it.
So where is this OBS? I'm standing here looking at the equipment. I guess if I logged on myself, I could show you all the equipment close up from my camera, but I don't see it here. The
Okay,
computer has 2 USB connections, HTML,
hit F8.
F8. Took my glasses off.
Okay, what I've done now is I'm using my cell phone as a video camera. It is linked wirelessly to OBS.
And here,
You're seeing the computer as Alan points my camera. I will make the active software on the computer screen OBS. It was there the whole time, but it was underneath. So now you're seeing the OBS screen. We're still broadcasting through Zoom, but I've just made OBS active on the computer screen. So it's open broadcast. It is essentially a free broadcast studio. You define scenes in here. You define scenes, the devices or sources that go to those scenes, and then you can control them. I can, for example, show simultaneously different video feeds. In this case, what I'm showing on the screen is a PowerPoint presentation and a camera, a laptop camera, aimed at Alan. So you're seeing, the rest of the world is seeing Alan hold my cell phone. That's my hand above it. I can also stand and use a PowerPoint presentation or any software I want. And then right now the active camera is in the back of the room. So I can stand next to the image of the PowerPoint presentation. I can combine them. I can resize any of these things if I want. So all of these, yeah, the cell phone is not now the active camera, but we can, anytime you put F8, then you're now sending the cell phone camera image through the rest of the world.
and if you have 2 screens on your computer at home, you can have the 2 screens at F8. Will shift the stuff
That's right.
around. Same as what this is doing, although it's
Yes.
similar. Not the
Yes.
same.
So let's go back and make Zoom. So OBS, it takes a little while to learn. It has the advantage of being free. Yeah, click on Zoom so that we can, so we can see the rest of the world.
Steve, this is Daniel.
Go for it, Daniel.
You had mentioned some handout. I don't remember getting any handout. I only got one email from you. Could you please resend that by email?
Yes, I sent out, 10 PDF files. It was an hour or two before I sent the one with the link to this meeting. So I'll go back and send that again.
If you don't mind.
And if you got, and I use the same email list. So if you got ones, then I must have your correct email. It also could be, maybe I'll break for you. I'll break it into more. Does your email filter out a message that has too many attachments or too many megabytes of attachments? That
I have
could be.
never come across that, but that may be the case. So if you do break it up, it'll be helpful.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. So OBS does a variety of things for you. Hit, let's see, F6.
I gotta put my glasses on.
The F6, I'm using the camera in the back of the room, but you'll notice above my head, there's a little green thing. Well, it's a video camera in the back of the room, and that's the recording symbol. So, you know, those of us who've had camcorders, in this case, this camcorder is probably 20 years old. Well, what it likes to record, or its live video stream, has a little recording icon. And you can see in my basement here that I've got a sheet. It's actually a photographic screen behind me, but it doesn't go all the way to the wall. So I use OBS. This is F6. Let's go back to F2 to crop what that video camera sends to the rest of the world. So the stuff on the edge, I just put a black strip. And that little silly green thing above my head, well, that's gone. So I've used OBS to take the video streaming from that camera and crop it so that only what I want to go out to the rest of the world does. You can't see, let's go to F7. So this is video camera that's in front of the audience. You can see more of how the room is set up. On the floor, I have masking tape. Which tells me other people who speak here how far they can move and still stay in the view area of the camera in the back of the room.
Steve, we still hear the recording, the echo of the recording camera of the recording. Could you cut that out, please?
I'm sorry?
We are still hearing the echo of the recording. Could you cut that out, please?
Different audio. You having different audio coming through it, Daniel?
Yes, sir. I'm getting.
We're getting double video. People sound echo.
Okay. Let's go. Like I said, technical gremlins. That means there's more than one active microphone.
I'm still hearing the echo from the other microphone, from the recording camera.
That's it. It shouldn't be. We'll go back to this. You hearing an echo now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Let me take a look. Okay. This is a good example of a technical gremlin. Sometimes we can fix it, and sometimes they refuse to be fixed. Okay, let's see. Why are you getting a microphone? What's your mic? How about now?
Now it seems to be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
For demonstration purposes today, I was using more devices than I normally do. So on the floor of this room, there's masking tape that shows speakers here where they can go and stay within the view of the camera in the back of the room. So I've now deliberately walked out of view. I've walked across the blue line on the floor. Now I am back where I can see, you can see me because I've stayed within the lines.
So I need to go to F2.
Yes. Thank you. So when I walk too far out of the view of the camera, and I know that because I've got a fixed camera in the back of the room. I've got lines on the floor that tell me or people that come to my basement where they can walk and stay within the view of the camera. Because the speaker wants to be seen. So you want to give out of courtesy to your speakers at your hybrid location, you got to, one way, shape, or form, tell them where they can walk, where they can stand, and still be seen by the video audience. Yesterday, I gave a presentation at Professional Development Day run by the Project Management Institute. Well, they didn't have masking tape on the floor, so I had to know, I had to test where I could move, where I could stand so that the video portion of my audience would still see me. It's just part of what you have to do in the video world that we now live in. There is one thing that's a little difficult. I'm 5'7", so I'm generally not at risk of getting my head cut off on video. Allen's more taller, so let's have him stand up. Another thing you have to worry about, now Allen slowly walk toward the camera in the back. See, he can get up to where my equipment is, but he's now far enough toward the camera in the back that part of him is getting cut off. That's because he's tall. So this is my revenge at all those basketball players that, scored over me when I was growing up and playing friends on the basketball court. Not that I ever had the skill anyway. But so if you're tall, you do have to worry about getting your head cut off by video. So video, you just have to adjust where can you walk, where can you stand, so that either your head or your body is in view.
We want to go back to the Zoom screen.
Well, I've turned off my cell phone, so that's because that was part of. Yeah, but they won't see it now. So there's all kinds of things you can do with equipment, with software, and a fundamental message that I try to tell everybody as I talk about hybrid meetings is start simple. You start with a desktop or a laptop. Let's go to F1. So you start with a laptop. The laptop has a camera, it has a microphone. And the simplest thing to add to it is a webcam that can stand near or on the laptop. And then you can just turn it as you've got more and more people in the room. And it has its own microphone. You can put that microphone, pass it around, so different people in the room can still be heard as they speak in different situations. And as your room gets bigger, if that's the nature of your organization, then you need this 2-camera setup that I have here in my basement. So you have to always check, what does your organization need? How is the room set up? How should it be set up? Who needs to hear? Who needs to see? Who needs to be seen? Who needs to be heard? All these things are going to be different for different locations, different organizations. The only thing you can do is experiment, test, deal with the gremlins as they come up, as happened earlier today. Slay those dragons. Let's go to F2. Learn and adjust. There's no one way to do things. You simply have to keep trying. Along the way, you'll learn that the closer a microphone is to your mouth, the higher the quality of the sound. The more light on your face or your body, the better the audience will be able to see your facial expressions, your laughter, your flapping your arms, whatever motion you want to do. Yep, there's another microphone and camera over there. So there's all kinds of different ways to do things. At University Place with Friends for Learning, one of the things we learned the other day when they did training for facilitators, they have an interesting device called an OWL, O-W-L. I went online and found that it cost about $1,000. So I'm not going to get one, at least not anytime soon. And the OWL substitutes for having multiple cameras. It can simultaneously show you video in this direction, video in that direction. It's an impressive piece of equipment, and it will do some things automatically. If the OWL is aimed directly at the speaking area in the classroom at University Place, and someone in the audience pipes up, ask a question and so forth, after a couple of seconds, the OWL will open up another video window to show that portion of the audience. And then the rest of the video world will see both the speaker and whoever has been, asking a question or raising their hand and making some sort of noise, whatever. So that's a technology that will become more and more prevalent, particularly as the cost comes down. So Allen has a camera and a microphone. I have, looks like the exact same model. So let's go to F1. So this is a Logitech camera that sits on a stalk.
Bye.
And it's one of the ways to move from a simple laptop to something slightly more versatile, because now you can point that camera in different locations. And as you have more and more people in your room, then you can point the camera at whoever's speaking. Its microphone is better than the microphone that's built into most laptops. So it's a way to transition from just a laptop to something a little more complicated. Anything else you want to say about the Logitech?
Well, there's another thing we can do, and that is take your iPhone out and set it beside you, and you'd have two people basically on the same meeting, represented in the same room by two computers.
Yep. There's a Toastmaster club in Rexburg that's gone even further than what I've been talking about. To deal with the 2-camera, 2-microphone issue, instead of having to use OBS to control all these different devices, they have enough Wi-Fi bandwidth. We use a classroom at the high school up there. They have enough bandwidth that they have 2 computers logged into, they use Microsoft Teams. They log into Teams with 2 different computers, only 1 microphone that's shared. It's a conference room line. So that Zoom, or in this case Teams, will automatically react that if the speaker versus the audience, both of them are being broadcast, but whichever one is the active source of sound, the software will react to that automatically. But you have to have really good Wi-Fi, internet connection to have two computers at once logged into Teams or Skype or Zoom or whatever. But it's an interesting setup. I've been up there to learn how they do that.
And the bandwidth of your signal is really important. The last class we had was from basically a resort in Washington, and they had very low bandwidth, and basically all the pictures came out bad and the sound came out bad. We had to redo it. If you were at that meeting and you want to, you can get a copy. I sent out a notice to you because I redid it.
Questions, comments?
Could you please tell us how to get account into Zoom?
What?
To get an
Get an
account,
account into Zoom, yes.
to get a Zoom account, you have several options. Generally, a free account is adequate. So if you just go to zoom.com, I believe it is.
Yes.
Zoom, thank you, zoom.us, and sign up for a free account. Start there. I'm a real advocate of starting as simple as possible, start free whenever possible, like OBS. I'm sure there's commercial things that do what OBS does, but OBS is good enough. I use it, it's free. So go to zoom.us. It'll guide you through a free account, which will then do 2 things. It will allow you to download onto your computer a Zoom client, it's called. So you can do, test your equipment before you connect to a Zoom meeting. You can make Zoom meetings with limitations. You can talk to a 7 people, I don't know what the upper bound is, but we can talk to
100.
100 people for free, but only up to 40 minutes. To go beyond 40 minutes, you have to transition with more than 2 people. So if you want 7 people, as we have today, or 100 people, more than 40 minutes, then you have to go to a paid account. And it's, I don't know, $15 a month. I forget what it is, something like that. So when COVID happened, I transitioned to a paid account so that I could support my Toastmaster clubs, my book clubs, and whatnot. But for most people, a free account is as much as you'll ever need. I know some people who don't want to go to a paid account. So if they have multiple people on their video meeting, you want to go more than 40 minutes, everyone takes a break, they end the meeting, they start a new meeting, everyone logs back in, and you get another 40 minutes.
Or you could have one of the other people who has an account start one and everyone just moves to their account for another hour.
That's right. Yeah. That means a different Zoom meeting address.
Yeah.
Zoom is adding more and more features every month or two, which sometimes gets confusing. You can do polls in Zoom, breakout rooms. So if you've got, as I've been part of, meetings where you want different people to, in the old days, in a physical meeting, you go off to this classroom and this classroom, so forth and so on. You can do precisely that in a breakout room in Zoom. I'm pretty sure the alternatives, Teams and so forth, can do the same thing. Did I answer your question, Daniel? Great.
Yes.
I make the assumption now that if I or my organization want to do something, if we want to, whatever we dream up, there is a way to do it. It may not be obvious. The instructions on the software and the equipment may not be adequate. I may have to do a couple of searches on the internet. But if you want to do it, you can do it. I'll give you an unusual example. I'm in Toastmasters. We have a lot of fun there. We learn communication skills. We also have various types of speech contests, one of which is tall tales. So think Paul Bunyan, where you are exaggerating, lying, really, going a bit beyond reality, shall we say. We're in contest season right now. When I spent in July, drove down to Flagstaff, Arizona to see my daughter and granddaughter. Last month, Seattle to see my son. So I was a lot of time in the car by myself. And I dreamed up a tall tale, again, the Paul Bunyan, where the car becomes self-aware and starts talking to me. But when I give the contest speech that I conceived of in the car, I don't do it here. I have to. See, I could give a normal speech setup talking about how my car has developed this self-awareness. But it occurred to me, no, I'm not going to do it the normal way. So instead, I put my laptop in my car, in the garage, connect into the meeting, which happens to be by Zoom, and I broadcast from inside my car in the garage to give that contest speech. So that allows me to interact with how, with the steering wheel and point to different parts of the car. And the last time I gave it, I even experimented in having music coming from the car to participate in the talk. So nowadays, if you can think of something you want to do in a meeting is a good chance it's possible. You just have to try it, experiment with it, kill those techno gremlins as they come up, and then keep going with it. Questions? Helen, what does your granddaughter want to know?
Jasmine, what do you want to know? She's too busy watching a little nursery rhyme on TV. Do you see
Here.
him? You see everybody? Do you want to wave? Hi.
When I talk to my granddaughter by video, she has this particular love of being the person to terminate the call. I don't know what that
Yes.
means, but
Yes.
she understands the red button. My daughter's using a tablet typically to talk to me. So Harper loves being the one that pushes the red button to turn off the video. Why? I don't know, but that's one of the things that she happens to love.
Yeah.
We can do so much with the technology, but it's still a question of communication. You still have to get past the technology sometimes so that your audience can see you, can sense you, your emotion, whatever it is you're talking about. But we can now communicate next door, my car in the garage, anywhere in the world. I've had guest speakers and Toastmaster meetings from Australia. We just have to work out the time zone. We've had speakers from Europe. We've had guests from Europe. I've given a speech about Alaska from a hotel room in Botswana. It's kind of odd. And my audience was here in Idaho and in Utah. If you can think of it, there's a darn good chance it's possible. Questions or comments? Well, Mr. Facilitator, I don't know where we go from here.
Well, I brought the camera out and I thought I would mention that this camera I purchased way back before I had my current computer. That old computer did not have a camera. So I bought this and used it as my first camera interface. And then when that computer retired, I discovered this works just really great for Zoom.
Yeah. Let me mention that made me think of something. When we're talking to each other in person, there's something called eye contact. You as a human being, or even my dogs, will know if the people they're talking to are actually looking at them. My dogs know that. They know if I'm looking at them. So that's eye contact. Well, why does eye contact work? Well, it sounds kind of stupid or silly, but your eyes are in your face. So if I'm looking at your face, then your eyes, which are part of the face, see me looking at them. Again, it sounds pretty stupid and simple. Well, in video world, it's a little more complicated because the eyes are replaced by the camera and the face by a monitor. So I don't see, those of you online, I don't see your face. You're not in the room with me. Best I can do is see you on my monitor. Well, in this room, it's not quite set up the ideal situation. The camera in the back, that's now the active camera, is this direction. I'm looking at the camera, but if I want to look at you, my audience, I'm looking down here. The further apart your face and the camera are, the monitor versus the camera, then the less good my eye contact will be with you. F1. Now, in a, computers. Here we go. Okay, so F1. So if you're just sitting by your camera, as all of you are, depending on where the microphone of your computer is, your eye contact's not too bad. Again, it depends on your computer and how it's arranged. But as you go to a hybrid situation, you have to think about where is the camera and where are people's eyes going to be drawn to. Go to F2. So here, I've done this a lot of times. So as I'm looking at the camera back there, I will occasionally glance down at you on my computer screen and then back up to here. Or if I have more people in the room, then I'm making eye contact with this person in this chair, person in that chair, with the camera. But I have to train myself to look at the camera. I know one group in Pocatello, they deal with this by printing out people's faces, putting them on a piece of cardboard next to their camera. So the person speaking is occasionally drawn to that face and therefore looking at the camera to make eye contact with their online or video audience. Another thing that I do, F3. Upstairs in my office, I'm a nerd. I have a three computer screen setup. It's an old, the computer itself doesn't have a camera. So I have an identical camera to the one that Allen showed you. So I put in front, so I put this camera right in front of the computer screen. So as I'm sitting at my computer, my eyes, of course, are drawn to the computer screen, which is where my video audience is represented. By having the camera right in the middle of the screen, I make the best possible eye contact with my remote audience, because as I look at the screen, I'm necessarily looking at the camera. So I put the camera in front of the computer screen. Again, you have to test, you have to see what is appropriate and what works for you, your group, your purposes, your setup. Eye contact with a remote audience is sometimes very tricky. People have to learn either to set up camera and monitor close together, eyes, face, or train yourself to look at a camera that doesn't have a face on it. So I have to train myself in this room to occasionally make sure I'm looking at the camera so that you feel that I'm looking at you. It takes practice. Other questions, comments? If you want to do it, there's probably a way to do it. It'll take some test, and you'll probably have some techno gremlins along the way.
And Steve has told me he's glad to help with this, and somehow or other, Friends for Learning learned about Zoom, and I learned a little more than the average person, so I became the Friends for Learning Zoom help. So you can ask me too.
If there's no other questions or comments, then we'll sign off.
Thank you, Steve. I really learned
Thank
about
you, Steve.
OBS for the first time, and that's the amazing thing.
So I will resend to you, Daniel, the handouts. Did the rest of you get the handouts?
I got them.
Jim,
Great. If Zoom was behaving itself, it made a recording of our session today. I will download that, edit if necessary, and I will send out a link to that to you and the rest of the people who have been signed up.
Where did you record it?
I believe I recorded it on this computer. We'll see after the meeting.
When Friends for Learning normally does this recording, it gets recorded on Friends for Learning Cloud, Zoom Cloud. So the links that I've been sending out are on the Zoom cloud, and we can tell when you've been watching the videos too.
One of the reasons to record is, if you're a speaker, a chance to see and analyze how you did. I was videoed by one of my mentors in Toastmasters back in 2008. It was a contest speech. Blake gave me a DVD with video of my speech as well as others. It was a full year before I had the courage to watch myself. That was an unfortunate. I've now gotten smarter and realized, okay, good, bad, or ugly, if I watch my video or video of somebody else, I will learn from that. I might learn that I've been flapping my arms. I might learn that I wasn't looking at the camera or looking at the audience. Might learn that my voice was flat and quite boring. But it's a way to improve your communication skills. And I highly recommend, now that we're doing meetings in part or completely by video, record and analyze afterwards. And then that gives you the option, the chance to improve, and you have a chance to record memories. One of the videos that I made a couple years ago, I was visiting my daughter and granddaughter. My dad was still alive. And I have a short video clip of my granddaughter getting on a rocking horse my dad had originally made for my kids. I took it to New Orleans and set it up for my granddaughter. And so I got my dad on video watching Harper, and then I took a picture of Harper, the rocking horse, and my dad watching Harper by video. You know, my dad's gone now, but I have that memory of a video interaction between great-granddaughter and great-grandpa. So there's all things that we can do these days. I encourage you to go out there, try and play with them, kill those techno gremlins when they come up, and take advantage of what's out there. Take care. As we hit end.